students have to sort of realise that, like, whilst strikes are disruptive and a pain and things, like, I mean, really, if we don't, if it's not done and we don't sort of shut down the campuses and things like that, education will become something that will be, much harder for everybody to get, and impossible for some people to get, really.
Didn't we see the police horses outside the student union yesterday? Police horses?
Outside here?
Yes.
Well, I'm guessing with people on them, not just horses.
Yeah, it's not just horses.
Yeah, just in case something happens.
On Monday.
Fancy a rag? Okay,
Yeah.
why was that?
I was like, what the fuck is going
On
on?
Monday?
Tuesday.
So not even in this demonstration hall?
No, Tuesday at exactly 3 minutes before.
Your generation has ruined this country. It's us that's going to have to pay the price, and you are doing the dirty work of the people sitting in their offices. You don't even have it. I can't see you have a single qualm about what you're doing.
The repression at Millbank, the criminalisation of students who were attempting to occupy Tory Party headquarters, actually quite successfully occupying it up until the police came, was a deeply political decision. The commanding officer who kettled people inside the building was fairly insistent that we would not be arrested. However, David Cameron made a speech from China condemning the violence in Millbank. The commanding officer was changed. We were all arrested, photographed and handcuffed. We were forced to wait outside a police station in rather cold temperatures, it's November, remember, for several hours. We were processed, DNA taken. And I think this was in large part to scare people from protesting. And to individualise people, to make them not feel that they're part of a group, make them not feel that they're part of a movement. And we've had discussions recently, I've had discussions with various people, whether there actually is a student movement in Britain. And this has been quite a heated debate at times. But I think the experience of Saturday definitely shows that there is a student movement. But the student movement isn't in itself isolated from anything else. The student movement is an aspect of the movement, the wider movement of people against this government and against what the cops are doing.
Well, samba bands in any demo add spirit, they add noise, they add emotion to the whole experience. People love it, typically. Wherever we are on a demo, we'll get a huge amount of people around us. That's in a demo situation, but of course, this is possibly also a direct action situation. So in direct action situations, samba bands have a particular role in leading people. Essentially, people tend to follow. So, for example, if you wanted to lead a group of the crowd away to a particular target, that's a very particular role that only samba bands can fulfill, really. So we have a role in directing the crowd's attention. Also, because we make a lot of noise, we have a particular support role to play where occupations are going on. So, for example, if we want to draw the media's attention or the crowd's attention to the fact that a particular building is being occupied, it's a great thing to have a samba band playing outside, because also the people inside know that the people outside are supporting.
Well, we made all the banners on we had a day of discussion about culture and capitalism and how it's affecting it, and then afterwards we made the banners. And we made this one for the revolution contingent. Then we made a big one that says TUC, call a general strike. Like, it's not going to be a matter of, I mean, even like the protest tomorrow, even if it's 1 million or 2 million people, and I think there's a good chance you could get maybe 1 million people in the streets for this. Like, even if it's that many, we know from the anti-war movement here that they only pay attention while you're on the streets. Once you go home, they forget about it and they can ignore you. So we know it has to be continuous action. This has to be the start of bigger and bigger mobilizations.
I mean, all the people marching past in unison, it's health workers, it's like public sector, local government workers, some teaching assistants, that sort of thing.
What they want to fight for?
Well, I mean, opposition to the cuts, really. I think at present that's what they just don't want any cuts. I don't know if people are really thinking too much more beyond that, but it's just, yeah, everyone's just sick of everything being taken away, you know. Everyone can make the links between the cuts to education, the cuts to healthcare, the, you know, cuts to jobs in local government. We're seeing local services destroyed in our communities, you know, and more unemployed as the cuts start to bite. So.
Sometimes I'm like the bread. Sometimes you start smoking. And when I'm in holding the independent cookie.
No, I'm not filming you, don't worry.
Well, I think that one of the great things about these protests is that they're bringing this debate into the mainstream. What is violence? Violence, I think that first of all there needs to be a very basic distinction between vandalism and criminal activity and violence. Which is a very basic distinction. This government is carrying the most violent attack on our lives that has been seen since Thatcher, perhaps, and even more violent than that. Out of sheer anger, people decide to kick in a window to get their voice across. So the media goes along with this culture that valorizes property more than people. Most of the targets that have been vandalized in these demonstrations have been political and not mindless violence as other media would like to portray. Criminalizing these people for these acts is effectively saying that property is more important than human lives, which is a very big problem in our culture at the minute.
From what happened on the 26th, I think is very interesting because there's about 500,000 people, maybe 1 million people on the streets of London. And 1 million people anywhere gathered together for one purpose, in this case, marching against the government and what the government's doing, is very powerful. But the feeling on the streets in the main TUC march wasn't one particularly of empowerment. It was a quiet, very tame affair. People were angry, yes, but the anger wasn't directed anywhere in a specific way. And except in various different marches with Black Bloc people and with various other people who sort of we're disillusioned and have been disillusioned with this marching from A to B since the Iraq War, and the outcome of the Iraq War protest, which 1 million Iraqis died. People are very much aware, I think, at this stage that marching from A to B doesn't actually change anything. And although the TUC march was by and large this thing whereby you're a citizen who has a right to march and you have a right not to be able to change anything as well, I think is the implication of this. Other people were up for taking more direct action, and there was massive enthusiasm for anything else that was planned outside or parallel to the main TUC march. But I think one of the major problems was on Saturday was the lack of political leadership. You have 500,000 people in the streets marching towards Hyde Park to listen to Ed Miliband, the leader of the Labour Party, speak about the necessity of cuts and about how the cuts are only happening, or the Tories are only bad because they're doing the cuts too fast and too deep. There should be more gentle cuts. Whereas the people in the streets actually are thinking there shouldn't be any cuts. This here myth, this neoliberal myth that we need to in some way cut the deficit at the price of education, at the price of healthcare, at the price of housing, at the price of unemployed, at the price of actually making more people unemployed, is a total nonsense. We all know that in the 1940s, when the Labour government set up the NHS and established free education for all, the government was in more debt then than it is now.